Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We are at 312 D Street here in Silverton, located at the, I guess we're on the left side of the house here. I guess I came around the back here. So as you stand in the street facing the front of the house, I'm getting mixed up because I'm on the side road over here. Anyway, left side of the home, near the rear left corner of the house, we've got a 3-inch ABS cleanout, same side of the house as the mini split system is on. We're going to insert the camera and check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. We're coming in here just after a home inspection's finished up. Lots of water's been down the line. I've got about a 5-gallon bucket back here, and I'll introduce more than that if necessary. For the first little bit here, we're going to run this thing dry. So we zeroed out there at the base of the cleanout, and then immediately upon access here, we are transitioning over to what appears to be 4-inch, looks like 4-inch clay pipe. It's a little less common pipe material. See, 4-inch, usually it's 6-inch pipe, the vast majority of it is. So you do have root penetration here. You've also got a fracture at that pipe joint. Right now my camera is sitting sideways. When we come back here, we'll get a better view, or I'm sorry, the camera may orient so it's completely straight up and down, but anyway, on the left side there, actually left side and top of camera right now, you've got 2 different fractures there as well as a root intrusion. And same thing at that pipe joint too, roots there as well. As they sit, I mean, obviously not doing much to affect functionality. You've also got standing water in the line here. Standing water, as it relates to newer piping products like ABS, PVC, that have very robust, strong pipe joints that are either glued and or have fern cones around them. Standing water is generally purely related to uncompacted soil and settling under the weight of the ground above it when it was buried. Older pipe materials like this, most of your older clay pipe is grouted. Sometimes you'll get rubber fern cones on this smaller diameter clay pipe, but I'm not seeing any. Generally, and I've been doing this 13 years, I've cambered 24,000 sewer lines. Generally 4-inch clay, when it's got a fern cone in between the joint, you generally can see them. You might have a little bit of fern cone exposed there on the right side. There's a little bit of black, but generally speaking, the fern cone sticks completely into the flow line. It's very obvious at every single pipe joint. You don't have to even look for it. So as far as I can tell, these joints appear to be grouted pipe joints. So what I'm getting at is when you get settling in clay pipe, it doesn't mean the pipe joints are gaping wide open, but it is often the result of pipe joints that are failing and are allowing a level of groundwater to seep into the sewer line, which leads to hydro erosion and cause the line to slowly but surely settle over time. We are also getting a different coloration here on the pipe. As you can see, we're kind of going from a brown pipe right now, which we are still, looks like we're in clay pipe, to a reddish pipe here. Another indicator that dirt and or groundwater is seeping through the line. So this line looks like it's been jetted recently. Just about every root in the line is cut back and short. Roots don't generally naturally grow that way because they all penetrate the sewer line at different times. So generally you'll have a mixture of small, big. Anyway, when you get settling in conjunction with older pipe materials, both clay and concrete pipe, it is often due to the fact that they are open to the ground and or when pipe joints, when clay pipe and concrete pipe they both generally speaking have grouted pipe joints, which as you can imagine is not flexible. When pipe settles due to just uncompacted soil, those joints can only withstand so much torque on them before the grout breaks and they just don't stay closed off of the ground any longer. So that's a concern, is you can end up with a progressive settling situation. We just went past a tie-in there, which could very well be a storm system connection coming in. We'll try and locate that here at the end. And we've also been past some more roots. But seeing as you've got roots here end to end as well as settling, this is a line I would recommend be updated at this point. You know, obviously you can do the baby and a long thing and jet the line out, cut the roots back, but you know, that's something you're going to have to keep up on here. You've got roots at a myriad of different pipe joints in the line. And we're getting to a spot right now where the line is just about clogged. I'm having to plow through some really thick debris right now. And it's possible I may not even make it all the way out. We're going to see. More roots there. All right, just put about 5 gallons of water down the line here. And that joint right there is probably going to do us in. At almost 100 feet, it takes very little offset to stop the camera. So while the water starts draining through here, in fact, I'm going to wait just a moment to see how much of that water gets to us. You know, ideally, just seeing how this line is right now, this is actually a line that would be ideal to scope after the house is sat with no water going through it for a few days. We run lots of water during home inspections, and one of the things that happens when you've got joints that are open to the ground, especially if they've been that way for a while, is if there is any cavity space around the sewer line, what water can do, and you're only going to see it if the line's been sitting dry for a little while, is you run water down it. If it starts escaping the pipe joints, it'll do that up to a point, and then what happens is once the ground around the pipe is saturated and can't accept water easily any longer, the water starts to stand in the flow line. So it's very possible if you were to come back here, it's an easy way to test whether those joints are open. It's not a surefire way, but I've seen it done enough times over the years that you may very well see the depth of that standing water change and go down as the water slowly percolates into the soil around it and lessens the amount of standing water. So generally speaking, at this point in time, with a big rush of water like that, I'm putting a lot more water down this thing at one time than a toilet generally is going to. We're not really getting much in the way of water flow trickling through yet. It may very well catch up here at some point, but by the looks of it, I don't think it's not going to be a very strong flow. We've also got a whole bunch of buildup and probably a decent-sized root intrusion behind us. That's that area my camera had to try and plow through that might be holding some of that water back right now. And we're going to go locate here and see where we're at currently. Alrighty. So it looks like, so I just walked around the block here. I was able to kind of eyeball where this thing was going pretty easily. So I didn't have to spend much time, but in that time span, yeah, I'm not sure how much of that water I put down the line made it here. I think a little bit did. So what this line is doing is you stand on the main road staring at the front door. The line is basically doing a dead straight shot away from the left side of the house. It cuts right behind the neighboring home. So that tie in there is likely a party line. And where we're stopping up here is just barely prior to the street curb, going out to the road off to the left of this house. So it shoots right behind the neighboring home and out to that side street to the left of the home. That's as you face the front of this house from the roadway. The wild thing there is at almost 100 feet out, you're only at 7, which as long as you theoretically have enough depth to work with to grade the sewer line properly, I mean, if you're doing any kind of digging repairs, that's about as simple as it gets. And the overwhelming majority of the sewer line is under just dirt. There is obviously some under a sidewalk and things like that. Now you have a hole in the top of the pipe right there. Not terribly surprising, seeing the rest of the condition of the line. And a good portion of this is going to be on neighboring property. I generally don't put paint I leave that up for the repair guys to go mess with that. But I will do paint markings on this side of the fence line. And I did do a green arrow. If you basically draw an imaginary straight line from this point out to the side street, obviously going, traveling to the neighbor's backyard, you'll see that green paint marking out there. I wrote 2 foot 7 inches deep on the ground too. It's in fluorescent green paint. And I will do markings on this side of the fence line too. And that right there is likely a neighboring line tying in there. That would be my guess. I would be surprised if it wasn't. And 65 feet puts this thing way off the property. That's over behind the neighbor's house. Well, the standing water in the line, right here, you've obviously got some pretty good buildup and root action. That spot, I can't even assess right now. There's just too much junk in the line to tell if it's due to a debris dam causing the standing water or if it's due to settling. So if you were to subtract those roots and all that debris from the equation and you have a line there that drains off or almost drains off completely, most of the standing water in the line I've seen so far has been fairly minimal. And this is one of those lines that, you could potentially do a trenchless epoxy liner on it. That liner will displace a portion of the standing water. The liners have some thickness to it. So, if you've got a 1/4 inch of standing water, it'll displace about that much and get it out of there because you're adding a liner to the inside of the sewer line. The bigger question is whether or not you're going to be able to cure the epoxy, and you'd have to come to the repair guys to ask them that, if it's possible or not. And you got another hole in the top of the pipe there. You're not going to end up with a perfectly graded sewer line, but if you have to do this in conjunction with a neighbor, it might be cheaper to go that route. It might not be. The line is so dang shallow, it might end up being cheaper just to simply dig it up. It's the part in the roadway. I do so few of these in Silverton. I'm not sure if the city's responsible in the roadway or not. If the city takes responsibility at the roadway or the right-of-way, that's the extra expensive part of the repair because of the concrete to deal with and traffic control. So I would recommend a full update of this line. You've got roots throughout the entirety of it at many pipe joints. You've got holes, cracks, all kinds of different stuff going on here. And a party line, which that's another one. Over 13 years, I've probably only scoped about 10 to 15, now probably about 15, 20 houses in Silverton. Never seen a party line out here. That's something you'd have to run past the city to see if they allow for that or not. As if, if they're doing things similar to like Portland, Multnomah County is, there's a lot of parts of town that don't care about party lines, and there's a lot that do. And so you'd have to run that past the city to see if that is some kind of non-conforming thing or something they don't like. And some cities allow them to exist up until the time the line needs a replacement, so it's really just depends on the city. And you're getting essentially the exact same depth here as you are all the way out the street. 2 foot 6 inches. I got between 2.6 and 2.8. I was right up against the fence line there. Yeah. Now, for some reason, the line does not get repaired right now. I would recommend jetting it. You've got the better part of a blockage and a backup just waiting to happen right now. I mean, my camera, I'm having to absolutely force through that area, so stuff is not going to easily pass through that spot over near where the neighbor's Y connection is. Again, I don't know if that's an active Y right now or not. My guess is it probably is, but especially considering how much debris is piling up there. And I'm not going to put tons and tons of paint down here. I mean, you basically got the exact same thing end to end. The line runs essentially dead straight, and you're about 2 foot to 2 foot 6, maybe as much as 2 foot 8 inches deep. Once you get into the roadway, I don't know if the line dives off. That's not a terribly uncommon thing to have happen, but it may also be shallow in the road too. So from right here at about essentially 1 foot or so into the sewer line out to the end of homeowner responsibility, I recommend a full update to the sewer line due to the condition issues. Straight up. So a little bit of standing water at the base of that, but you're going vertical almost immediately here. This is very wonky for the camera. I can see far enough down the line here through the foundation wall. That stuff is looking good there, going backwards. Beyond that, it looks like the rest of that stuff's going to be exposed piping that the home inspector is able to look at with their eyeballs. A little bit of standing water at the base. That drop right there is not concerning. You've got so much fault preceding it that you'd have to flush some wild and crazy things down the line to block up a 1/4 inch of standing water for about 6 inches or so. Anyway, if you draw a line from this clean out right to that fence line, you'll see a couple paint markings. One of them is right up against it. The bark dust is really loose, so it's hard to put good paint markings down. But you will see an arrow in the yard here. The line just runs dead straight all the way out there. After any repairs are done, I highly recommend rescoping the line to check the work, and you want to do that if you do end up doing some kind of trench style repair, whether this configuration is kept or the direction gets changed. You want to rescope the line after the trench is closed. It's very important to do that. That's when you get to see any settling issues that may occur. A lot of repair guys do theirs when the trench is open during a permitting process, which is fine, but everything's in theory at that point until there's weight on top of the line. Now, when you're dealing with a longer sewer line too, they're even more likely to have gradation problems because the tolerances are very tight. Anyway, not being able to see what's beyond 96 feet, my assumption, unless some updating's been done, the city may have record of that. Most likely the line's going to be in a very similar condition going all the way to the main lateral. But first and foremost, you got to start with whether or not the party line is going to be an issue, and this configuration can be kept or not. Sometimes, I don't know how the city looks at it out here, but some places they'll make you change configuration and reroute the line. Sometimes they'll let you keep what's currently there. So, if no repairs happen, the line needs to be cleaned. You need to get all that debris, and it looks like you've got a root intrusion over near the neighbor's home, near where the Y connection is. That spot right there is concerning. You've got heavy buildup there that could quite easily block and back up. The plus side is it's a decent distance from the house, giving you a little bit of leeway, but when I have to force a camera to an area that hard, whatever is going down line is going to be stopping up there unless that gets cleared out. And then if any repairs are getting pushed off down the road, you're going to want to rescope this at about 9 months to a year. That's going to give you a baseline for how quickly those roots are regenerating and how often you need to be doing jetting on this thing. As it sits right now, I would be wagering you're probably going to want to do cleanings on this every year to every 2 years maximum. It just depends on how aggressively those roots grow.